What's up, everybody? How you doing today? Hope you're having a great day already. Hopefully you've had a great week. Hopefully you're going to have a great weekend coming up. But we got a jam-packed show ready for y'all. We got Troy Marrow in the house today. He's going to be talking to us a little bit about his life and some things. And we're going to be chatting about just a lot of stuff that's been going on in the news lately with, the whole racism kind of stuff. And so we're going to chat about that stuff and get some good answers, good questions, and see what's happening. But stay tuned. See what we got. This is my show and I like to talk, loving the sound of my voice. So grab a cup of Joe and I'll let you know. Hope you enjoy the show. It's time to introduce our first guest. We got Troy Marrow. Am I saying your last name right?
Marrow, just like the bone.
Bone marrow. Marrow.
Exactly.
Cool. Let me actually welcome to the show. You're from Baltimore, is that correct?
Yeah, grew up in Baltimore, but I like to say I'm from North Carolina because that's where Jesus found me.
Oh, wow. Okay, we'll get more into that in a bit. Cool. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, bro.
Yeah, no problem.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I haven't seen you in a while. We've been in quarantine for a bit. He actually shouldn't be here, but we made sure that he washed his hands. He jumped through a bit of our antibacterial spray, and then we did not shake hands. We just elbowed each other on with clothes. So, yeah. Before we begin, I think it's time to drink some coffee.
I'm excited. Let's do it. Let him know with Joe.
Let's do it. Oh, wait. Let's pour it through that nozzle.
Oh, I didn't realize there's a nozzle.
Yeah.
See,
cool. While you're pointing, I want to see what we're having. So last week we had, I said Stumptown. My roommate said it's Stumpton, but it's spelled Stumptown, Stumptown. Stumptown Coffee Roasters is a different one. This is a blend, vanilla and cocoa powder, whole bean. The diner of your dreams serves this coffee. We like to think of our founder's blend as a dose of Central American sunshine in a cup, a creature comfort in our cloudy Northwest hometown. Simple and chocolate forward, this full-body cup is an all-day, everyday drinker.
Chocolate, I love it.
Chocolate for the chocolate wonder. That's your nickname.
The chocolate brother.
Chocolate brother. All right, let's try it and see how this tastes. Cheers.
Ooh. Cheers to you.
Don't forget, you can order your Let 'em Know with Joe custom mug at let'emknowwithjoe.com. They're going fast, guys, so I definitely encourage you to get one. I know Troy's going to get one after this show. He's going to definitely order one online.
Might order two, actually.
You might order two, so hit him up if you want one.
It's really good. Nice and smooth,
Yeah, I like it.
Not too bitter.
I might drink this tomorrow morning for breakfast.
Have to get it. Was it Stump?
Stumptown. I don't know. If you know, let me know. Let me know with Joe. So anyways, I decided to change some things up around with the show, and actually I'm going to name this part Coffee Confessions.
Let's do it.
Coffee Confessions. And so basically I want to ask you a few questions. You can only skip one if you don't want to answer it. Hopefully we can get to all of them. But what I will add is after these questions, you can ask me one of the same questions yourself. So whichever one we get to, hopefully we get to all of them. Hopefully we don't. We'll see what happens. Question 1 for our Coffee Confessions. When was the last time you cried?
The last time I cried was actually this morning, believe it or not.
Oh, man. You want to talk to us about it? Or?
Yeah. There's this thing called the Holy Spirit.
Oh, wow.
You
got a man of God on the show.
golly, like sometimes you're just like you're just worshiping God, and the Holy Spirit just hits you right in your heart, and you just start crying out of nowhere. And I was like, next thing you know, you got snot flying everywhere, and you're just like, oh man. But
yeah, that's real.
Low key, I'm actually a big crier, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like movies, people holding hands, like just no shed a tear.
People holding hands makes you cry.
Yeah, like low key, like when they genuinely look happy, like a little tear just starts rolling down my eyes,
The only movie I've ever cried on, there's two movies I've actually cried on. One is The Lion King. Whenever Mufasa dies, man, like to Simba be all alone, but bro, far out. That got me good, man. The other time is you probably cried on this one too. Remember the Titans?
Oh,
whenever, geez, my mind just went blank. What's his name? They hit in the hospital.
Oh, Bashir.
Yeah. Superman. He gets in the hospital, and then his friend,
Campbell. I don't remember his name right now.
Campbell. He goes and he's like, "But you're Superman," and man, I'm just like, dang, my tears are coming down. So cool. Yeah. Well, I guess I answered that question too. Well, I didn't answer that one, but you can ask me that.
Yeah.
Are you talking to anybody? Any ladies?
Nah, man. Single as they come. Hashtag. And I'm gonna shout out my Instagram. Troy_Marrow. Follow me on there. Trying to just influence everybody in the world, but single as they come right now. So.
Dang. Are you on any dating apps?
Not on any dating apps. Did that back before I was saved during the BC days in college.
I don't think there's anything wrong with dating apps. I don't think there's anything wrong.
Yeah. I did it more as a joke back in the day.
Okay, fair.
Like teammates would try to see, who can get the most girls, But like now I'm just like, just.
But now I think it's like a normal thing, to be honest. I think people are doing it to find actually someone to date and maybe marry. It's a real thing. I don't know.
I was about to say, especially in this quarantine, it's just like, not saying like you get bored, but it's like you download this app and maybe people aren't out there trying to be as like creepy-ish as you think.
Well, see, my thoughts was this. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but whenever you first meet a girl, this happened to me a lot. Mm-hmm. I'd meet a girl, and I'd meet her like maybe before I go on this trip, and so I'm texting her the whole trip. I feel like, and then when you get back, you're like, it was just more of someone to talk to when I'm with my family. And then when I'm back, I'm like, I actually wasn't feeling it. I just had someone to talk to besides my family and some friends that I usually text. I feel like this is kind of the same thing. Because you could be talking to somebody during quarantine, and then when this all ends, you'll be like, you're just my quarantine friend that I wanted to talk to. But after this, I'm not really feeling it. I don't know, man.
And it's like nothing wrong with a FaceTime date,
Yeah. That's why I'm scared to even talk to somebody during quarantine, because I feel like it might just be like a thing during quarantine when it's over. I don't know.
Hey, at least you can't get catfish that way since it's over FaceTime.
Well, hopefully you still might.
Hopefully it's not over Zoom, because like how they can just blank out their face. Then that would be a little sketch.
I asked a girl on a Zoom date and she did not. She ghosted me.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We won't talk about that anymore. I want to just ask one more question. Mm-hmm. This is a good question. I want to see if you could say anything to one person in your life without any consequences. What would it be?
Oh, that's actually a very, very good question. I think I would say I'm glad we went through all that we went through. I wouldn't change a thing. I wish you nothing but the best. And I hope you have a prosperous life at the end of the day.
Do you want to say who that's to or no?
No, I'm going to keep the name to myself.
Was it a female?
Yeah, it's a female.
Okay, cool. We could write a song with those words. We could. But no, not right now. All right, what question do you want to ask me? I wrote down. I'll give you a few questions, but you can ask me the ones that we didn't ask too as well. But just one, so think of it.
I actually kind of do like that last question, but I'm going to put a little twist on it. If you could go back to a moment where you could say something to somebody, what would that be?
Dang. If I can go back to a moment and tell somebody something, what would it be? Shoo. Man, that's a really good question. I think maybe it would be, hey, I know this seems like this is what you want to do and this is what you need to do to enjoy life. But you know what? Maybe I haven't been the best example for you. But please, let's do this together. Let's figure out what you need and let's figure out what I can do to be a better, I guess I'll just say a brother to you. This is to my sister. You know, I love her so much, and I think, you know, there was many times where she was going through stuff and I wasn't the best example to her. And so for me, I was just kind of like, you know, I definitely, you know, there's some, you know, things happen and all that, and I don't want to trade it for anything, but still, man, I just feel like, man, I could have done some things better, and just be that the best big brother I could be for my sister.
That's straight fire. And I think that takes a lot of guts to say too, you know?
Yeah.
But we still can keep looking forward every day.
Cool. Well, thanks, bro. Cool. So we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. Recently, there's been a video going around. I first saw it on Sean King's Instagram. Sean King is a really great dude. I don't know him personally, but just the things that he's doing, especially, you know, for people that can't be seen or people that are overlooked. He's doing great things with that and doing really cool things. And he posted a video the other day, probably about 2 weeks ago now, of Ahmaud
Arbery. Yeah.
And man, when I first saw that video, it hurt me so bad. Like I've never seen someone actually get killed like that before. You know, I've seen movies, I've seen stuff like that, but to actually see that, man, it was crazy, man. It hurt me so much because, you know, I guess first of all, being a Christian, that hurts me. Yeah. But second of all, just being a human being, I feel like that can hurt anybody, you know. A lot of things have come up since then. People definitely talking about racism, stuff like that. And I want to ask you a few things, if you don't mind. Me, I'm half Mexican and white. Grew up in a small town, country town, where it was predominantly white people and Mexicans. Not too many African Americans there. But I had some African American friends, but I never really saw, or maybe I was just ignorant to it and never saw any kind of racism towards them. But I want to ask you, maybe the first thing I want to ask is, sure. Have you ever experienced racism in your life?
Whew. Yeah, where do I begin? I've experienced a good amount, you know. I think as a child you experience it, but you don't realize it until your parents actually tell you certain things. But as you grow older and become more mature, you actually realize racism is everywhere that you go. If it's even with white people saying nigger, and it's like, wow, it's like, how do you get to that point to actually say that word? Right. And when you kind of like live in that, you're like, all right, like somebody that you can just say it isn't racist doesn't say something like that. And so as I got older, it kind of allowed me to become like more self-conscious of like who I've been around. But there's plenty of examples I can give, like where I've experienced racism. Like I've gotten pulled over before. I gotta give a quick story. I was driving in the middle of Virginia one time, headed back down to school, and I was just driving, and a car was getting on the ramp, right? And it's a 2-lane highway. I'm going like 70 miles per hour. That's the speed limit. Going 70 miles per hour. Right,
you're going exactly 70 miles per hour?
Going exactly 70 miles per hour. Quotes. But then this car gets on the highway too, and it has like a tailgate on the back, and it's like kind of like wobbling everywhere. And I notice it as it's getting on, and it starts to swing over to my lane. And so I jerk my wheel really quick because I'm like, I don't want to get hit by this tailgate, end up spinning out. And so as I go to move, there's a cop right there as well. And so I paid nothing attention to the cop. I'm like, I was moving out of the way, blah, 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 whatever. So I'm driving. I get like a mile down the road, right? Next thing I know, whoop, whoop, get pulled over. Cop comes up to me. He's like, hey, how you doing? He's like, what happened back there? I was like, well, the guy was almost hit me with his tailgate. And I was just trying to avoid him.
Yeah.
And he was just like, are you okay? I was like, where is this coming from? He's like, you seem to be pretty jittery. I was like, well, I'm not expecting to get pulled over by a cop right now.
Right.
I didn't say that to him. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, no, everything's fine. Like, everything's fine, officer. He's like, are you sure you're okay? Like, I was like, I had a lot of caffeine today, but I'm like, everything is fine. He's like, well, I just want to make sure everything's okay. Can you step out of the car for me? I'm like, all right, like, here we go, kind of.
Was he white?
He was a white cop, yeah. Step out of the car. And he goes, do you have anything illegal in the car? Any guns, drugs, anything like that? I'm like, no, sir. I have nothing here, nothing to hide. And then he asked me again. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, I have nothing to hide. Like, what are you trying to get to? And he's like, well, we're actually going to call the K9 unit to come down and search your car. Yeah, wild. Comes down, K9 unit comes. They end up searching my car, ripping everything apart. And he asked me, can you go sit in my police in the patrol car, like, while we're doing the search? So my dad's a cop. And one thing I've learned as an African American, just always obey what they say. Because as soon as you are sort of out of line anywhere, that just gives the cop a reason to do something for you. And so for me, I'm gonna always agree. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll go to your car, sit in there with you right in there. And again, he goes, is everything okay? And I'm like at this point, like, I'm getting like irate and like furious. And I'm like, yes, everything is fine. And he's like, are you sure there's no drugs or anything in the car? I'm like, yes, there are no drugs. There's nothing. I was like, and then that's when I pulled the line. I was like, my dad is a lawyer. My dad would kill me if I had any drugs in the car. And that's like, as soon as I said that, that's like when the whole conversation switched. They end up doing nothing and end up just sending me on my way. Dang. But the thing was, I was going the speed limit.
Yeah.
I really didn't do anything. I was avoiding an accident.
Right.
And I told you I didn't have anything in the car probably over 10 times, but you just insinuated probably because I was black and driving in the middle of Virginia in a sports car and it's just like, you're just like, what? Yeah. Pretty much like, what the fuck? I'm sorry, but like, that's what really happened. And then there's plenty of other times where I can't even say I've been here in San Francisco. Everybody, well, for your followers out there that remember my post about the Chinese woman,
I remember that.
About like a month and a half ago, whenever that was, just standing outside of a Starbucks, and this woman just starts calling me a nigger out of nowhere. Dang. And it's like, what are you doing around here, you freaking nigger, and all this other stuff? And I'm just like, at some point you just get tired of it, you know. And it's something that's sad, reality, but it's a fight that keeps on going. And I have stories for days, but we can keep going.
Maybe if you have one, when you first maybe experienced it, maybe when you were a kid or began to notice it, maybe give an example of that, or when you first experienced that.
Yeah, for sure. I think as a kid, something I can actually not everything against me. I'll talk about like when I first found out like what racism was.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell me about that.
So I think I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I'm driving in the car with my dad.
Oh, I'm like, you're driving the car at 5 or 6?
Yeah, it's just Hot Wheel.
Yeah. Wow.
But I think we were like going to the mall or something like that, and I lived in Maryland, and we're just driving along, and I happen to look out of the car, and I see these about 3 to 4 men in these white suits, and I tell my dad, I'm like, Dad, why are they wearing sheets on, like, I was like, why are they wearing like bed sheets? And like my dad waited till I got home. He's like, son, like what you saw today, it's called, what's the Ku Klux Klan? Wow. And he's like, they are racist people that have been around for over 100 years now, that go around killing people, trying to intimidate people of color and all these other things. And like that's something I'll never forget. Like actually seeing the KKK in real life and just being like whoa, because like you see him like on TV and things like that, but you're just like, can this actually be reality? And the sad part is it's true. And I think that's the scariest thing about 2020. Maybe not so here in California, but maybe in some of these other states, and especially the southern states. You could go to work with somebody that's in the KKK. You would never know.
Really,
at the end of the day. Like, they might have some like racist actions towards you, but there's like there's so many underground things happening that you're just like, this person could be all friendly to your face, but could be going to a KKK rally that night, and you're just like, this is still 2020, you know?
That's crazy. And man, I feel like we are noticing it a lot more just because of social media. Like, for me, I think I can say that I never really experienced much of it. Like, I might have seen some people like get mad at the Mexicans in my town, and that would make me so mad, man. That would just piss me off. I'm like, what the heck? Like, just because they're speaking Spanish, you're gonna tell them something? Like, bro, there's so many Spanish people in my town. We would all destroy you right now if they were around, And so, like, for me, that would just make me so mad, and like, I couldn't even imagine like, just experiencing it myself, And for me, I guess I started noticing it more, I guess, whenever I first moved to Australia, because one of my roommates and close friends, his name is Ryan Griffin. He was African American as well, and in Australia, there's not very many black people at all. And so, like, you would see the way he would get treated there, but also he would tell me like some of the stories that he would get treated as well. I'm like, man, that's crazy. I never even knew that. I never saw that. And then for me, I guess seeing more of that on social media and following people that are like talking about it more is like, wow, it's actually a real thing, and I'm seeing more of it. And I'm actually glad I can see more of it, because it makes me aware. I'm like,
absolutely,
like, okay, this is a real thing. We got to learn how to fight it. I don't know if you saw the video with John Gray and Carl Lentz.
Absolutely, straight fire. If you haven't seen it, it's actually on. I think Hillsong California put it on their YouTube channel. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and that's where I watched it. If you get a chance to go watch it, and it's John Gray is African American pastor, and Carl Lentz is he's a white pastor, but he's in New York, and they have a really good conversation. It's like an hour and a half long, but it's a really good conversation of this and just how to be better, and I think it's more about talking about it, and I think I remember one part that John Gray said, either John Gray or Carl, they say it's no more talking. There's no more conversation with African American and white people. It's a conversation between white people and white people now.
That was my point.
And I was like, wow, that's so real. It's like we can't talk about it to the African Americans, to the white people. It's the white people that are gonna start talking about it more and start making a change and a difference. And I think that was powerful. Yeah,
and that was like from that whole. Because I think they said it like right at the beginning. I still can't remember if it was John Gray or Carl Lentz that said it. But yeah, that's where the conversation needs to start happening now. Yeah. Not saying that conversations don't need to happen between African Americans and I'm going to say pretty much all other races too, because we all have our racial biases. Sure. But the conversation has to be now between white people versus white people. I don't like using the word verse, but white people and white people. And it's white people that are woke, that I say, that know what's going on, that aren't being ignorant to everything that is happening in this world, to the white people that are just saying like, all right, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to still live in my old little box right here. But like when you're silent against, especially like injustices, you're just allowing to prolong. You're like, are you going to actually be for the cause or just sit back there and do nothing? And of course it's going to be uncomfortable at first, because it's one of those things. Talking about the truth is always uncomfortable at first. And I think they're just conversations that need to be had. And if it's African American and white people having a conversation, there's no such thing as a dumb question when it comes to race. Because let's take, for example, you're half Mexican and white. I'm black. I don't know what it's like to be half Mexican and half white. You don't know what it's like to be black. So it's like, ask the questions at the end of the day. And like, that's the thing, like, that is so confusing to me. It's just like, and I know like we're growing as a generation, but it's like, just ask. I think that's the dangers too about 2020. We've gotten so like locked into our phones that we forget actually how to have a conversation with people. Real. And so I think that's at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need conversations to keep happening, and that's how change is going to happen.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
So,
I think that's really good, man. I definitely plan on having more conversations and bringing this stuff up to light. Especially, it's crazy because coming from a very Republican conservative country town in Texas, I have a lot of friends that have a hard time thinking of different things. I've brought up I remember a couple years back I brought up the thing about gun control, and it's crazy. I had so many people like legit comment on my post and just argue after things like this, things like this, and it's like, man, it's crazy how much people are willing to fight for their guns, and like all this stuff. And like, don't get me wrong, like hunting I think is cool. I enjoy hunting, and I don't think I don't have an issue with guns. I just think there is an issue with people, getting guns, and that's a whole other subject. Another time. We can go for like I don't want to get into it, but I'm saying all that just to be like, man, people are just so boxed into their own little world, especially those that are in like small towns that haven't really been out much. And like for me, I'm definitely feel blessed to be able to go out to Australia and experience a whole other country and culture where they don't even have guns anymore. Like it's illegal to carry a knife in Australia. Yeah. Sure. So it's like, going from there and then going to here to California, where it's like, very, very much liberal and very, very different from Texas, very different from Australia. But I'm like, wow, I'm getting to see these different situations, different cultures. And I'm like, okay, now I can start to, compare and contrast different things and come up with my own opinion and things I follow, but not shut off somebody else just because I've never experienced whatever they're experiencing. You know what I mean?
I think that's so good what you said, the difference of living in Texas and Australia. And so, like, I'm going to take me, for example. Like, I lived in Maryland. I grew up in Maryland, went to school in North Carolina, and then moved out here into California. That's 3 different worlds that I've totally lived in. And that's the thing why conversations need to be had. Because we're all going to go through different things, but we all, again, we kind of live in these boxes, it's you have the southern box that's more conservative. You have the northerns a little split between conservative and liberals, but then you have like California that's totally liberal, and it's like that's why I think there's so many disconnections and how the reason why we can't, which is sad, we can't agree upon certain things at the end of the day because we bring our own biases or we bring our own judgments or just our own knowledge and think that our opinion is the right opinion.
Right.
And that's not I don't think that's the case. It's just, let's just be willing to listen. And then you establish your own opinion for yourself and heart check yourself at the end of the day.
I think that's a great way to end this part is listen. So many times we want to speak first and not listen ever. Yeah. I think it's important for us to listen first and maybe speak if we have to, but sometimes it's just better to stay silent sometimes and listen, and then let's make a conversation with the people that are not ever to understand this stuff. But yeah, thanks for saying that, man.
Absolutely.
Cool. Last thing I want to talk to you about, I mentioned earlier about the video with Ahmaud. Definitely looked into it a lot. Have been looking at all the news about it. When I first saw it, it was like I said through Sean King, and he definitely had a very strong opinion about it. I definitely did too. And I don't know if you saw that video that I sent you on Facebook or not.
I meant to watch it on my Uber ride here.
It's okay, no worries. It's all good. But no, I wanted you to see it because I don't know if you know Candace Owens. She's a African American political.
She's like Republican, right?
Very Republican. Yeah, very conservative. Yeah. Well, I don't even know. She says she's not Republican. She's conservative. Something like that. She says something different. But I heard her take on the whole video and all this, and it's crazy, man. Because you see one side and you see someone else's point of view, and like, wow, like it's crazy how when somebody first shows you a video and has an opinion about it, how much that influences me, and all that. Maybe it might be different because I'm not African American or not, but for me, I saw that I'm like, man, this is definitely a racist hate crime, and I hate that. And these white people should be put in jail. They should go and then she comes along and says this is not have this. She's like, this has nothing to do with racism at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
This African American lady is saying this has nothing to do with racism. I'm like, how can she even say that? Like, and then she starts putting it. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like, you know, I just wanted to hear your opinion really quick on the video and what you thought and maybe let me hear that. We'll go from there.
Yeah, we'll start from just my first views of the video. So like as soon as you see it, so I actually remember watching it. I think it was sometime like early last week before it actually started making like this whole like Twitter, Instagram like movement.
That's when I first saw it too.
And like when it said there was a murder, it's like, all right, for me, usually I listen to stuff like with the volume on, but I was like, all right, this is a murder. I don't want to watch it like with the volume on. But then I got, I guess you could say, kind of convicted in a way, just in case like anything was said in the video, to actually listen to it like with the sound on. And like that's what hurt me a lot more, to actually hear the gunshots and seeing him stumble away, like still try to like run away and just fall to his death. And you kind like, for me, you kind of place yourself in that situation. But I think of my dad right away. Yeah. I'm like, what if something like that happened to me? Like, what would that do to my parents? Or not even like my parents. Yes, my parents, but all the people that I know and that I do life with. And like the first thing that popped into my head, I'm like, all right, well, first I just want to get not all the facts, but just like the backstory of what actually happened. And so you hear that he's on a jog and he ends up getting shot and all this stuff. The thing that I can't get over is because the 911 call. The reason they wanted to do this citizen's arrest is because they thought Ahmaud Arbery stole something from this house, was burglarizing this house. That is the very tough part. One, of course, citizen's arrest, like for a burglary, like come on now, like how often do you hear of citizen's arrest like nowadays? Unless it's like a domestic violence case or something like that. All right, like my thing is call the cops. Yeah. So my thing is, like, I go back to the race thing. It's like if that was a white person at the end of the day, are they going to really do a citizen's arrest, or are they just going to call the cops? Right. Yeah. Or are they just going to let it go if they see he doesn't actually have anything on him? Right. And so I'm watching the video, and you see him go to the right, and then you see him kind of, I guess you could say, because some people are trying to say now, like he attacked the gunman or whatever. I'm like, put yourself in that situation. Yeah. You're an African-American male in the middle of Georgia. You see a pickup truck in the middle of the road, two older white men with two shotguns. What are you going to do? Right. Are you just going to keep running and just think, oh, I'm just going to get shot in the back? Right. Or are you going to actually try to defend yourself for your life? Because that's the tough thing about the video, too. We don't know what was said. Exactly. And so it's like, I think in most people, it's like, all right, you either have that fight, or run. And his instinct, whatever it was to fight. He felt like probably he was in a threat for his life. Yeah. And it's just like, that's the thing. We don't know, and it's going to be hearsay. We don't know exactly what happened in that altercation there. And it's just so sad to me because I'm like, even if he did steal something and you were trying to do a citizen's arrest, why do you have guns?
Exactly.
If you just see him running down the road, like, are you assuming he has a gun because he is black? And it's just like, it's so like, I don't know, there's just so many questions. It's like, could have been avoided? Absolutely. Like, I think at the end of the day, and like that's the crazy part, why don't we just let, like, I know there's crooked cops out there, but there's so many more good cops. Let the cops do their job. Yeah. And like, I know he's like an old sheriff and everything like that, but it's like, you're retired. Like, just call 911. Wait for the cops to show up, you know? And so that's the toughest thing. And like, the thing about the video, the sad part is it had to be put out there for something to be done.
Yeah, for sure.
And
yeah, because I did hear that they had the video since the beginning, and nothing was ever done until like it went viral, and a lot of people just started, you know, I signed a petition too, and did all that too. But yeah, man, it breaks my heart even to think about it. seeing someone die, man, for no reason, like it's not cool. Like he didn't deserve to die at all.
No.
You know, he didn't deserve that at all. I don't care what he's done. Like I don't care if he was like a worse criminal, man. For me, I'm like, these guys don't deserve to die.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so for me, when I saw that, man, it seriously broke my heart so much. I wanted to cry. Like, I definitely hold back a lot of times from crying because I don't know. I feel weird crying, but you know, I definitely wanted to cry. And then what's crazy about the whole thing, you know, I've listened to a lot more, is that why would they go and try to arrest him? Why can't they just like follow him? If all else fails, just follow him until the cops show up and they'd be like, hey, yeah, he's right here in front of me. Okay, let them take care of the job there. They don't have to stop him with their guns, you know, like and like for me, like if I were to see someone come up to me with a gun and try to stop me, I'm not just gonna run away. I'm definitely gonna try to go after them and try to stop them from shooting it. Like I can try to grab the gun from them and not let them point it at me, so I won't get shot. So like, man, it's definitely so hard to say anything about the situation. I really hope justice does prevail, and I really hope, you know, things turn out, you know, as good as they can. The best thing, like I think, like what John Gray said, the best thing would have been for him to still be alive. But you know, from here on out, it's like hopefully the best thing, you know, can be something positive from this. You know, maybe better legislation with this stuff, better laws in regards to citizens arrest. You know, make change happen. And yeah, it's a crazy video, crazy situation. Definitely am glad to see some even like Christians and public people talk about it, because I feel like a lot of times a lot of Christians and those that are pastors are scared to talk about that kind of stuff for fear of people saying stuff about it. But man, why are you scared about that? Like, speak facts. Sometimes it will be opinionated. We can't control that. We're always going to be opinionated no matter who you are. But let's have a conversation about it, like we said earlier. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think that's like the saddest part. Like, yes, he lost his life, but it's like I've always tried to wrap my head around this. Unless you feel threatened of your life and somebody coming in your house with another gun or something like that, how can you even take another human being's life at the end of the day?
Right.
Like, I don't care. Like, you shoot to kill at the end. Like, if you have a gun, you're shooting to kill.
Right.
And say if he was even trying to protect himself at the end of the day, why are you firing 3 shots within, what, not even 3 feet when he's right next to you? And it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, it's so sad that it happened, and it breaks my heart. But it's like, let's just start looking at other human beings as human beings at the end of the day. And like everybody has a life. It's all valuable, and like we shouldn't be judging somebody's life based off of a 7-second video, because we can make all these opinions about it, and we can, like, I know there's videos now of him like actually like being in the house, but it's like, still, all right, why are we still going to put our opinions on it? And like, all right, let's wait for the facts. But it's like, how can we have to define somebody's life based on a minute worth of video at the end of the day? Like, it's a human life. And so, and that's the thing, like, just keep speaking up about it at the end of the day. And like, let's not be scared to talk about these issues, because the more we don't talk about it, the more I think it's just going to happen. And the reason it will happen is because people feel like they can get away with it. And that's the saddest part. It's like, this is put on video. Who knows what's happening out there every single day in these, sorry for the language, but these backwood country lives, like, you know, where there is no like mainstream media and things like that. And so like that's the saddest part at the end of the day. It's like, we don't know what else is happening out there. So like, that's why the conversations need to be had, and people just need to, I think it's a huge awakening.
For sure. And I definitely hope, you know, we can start talking about it more.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, this could be a really good thing to start talking about more. Not just us, but people that can make differences in the country and the government.
Absolutely.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I was going to ask you another question about what we can do, but I feel like we've talked about what we can do. Have a conversation. Listen. Talk about it with other people. You know, don't be afraid to ask ignorant questions, because I'd rather ask you ignorant questions than make some stupid mistake in the future. So, you know, like I said, have conversations, talk to people, You know, if you have any questions and you don't know who to talk to, hit me up. I can connect you with Troy. We can Troy_Marrow at
gmail.com. Kidding.
Follow him on Instagram. Hit me up. You can go on my website, LKWJ.com. I have a contact form. You can ask me a question there. Hit my DMs. We can talk about it. I don't want this to end, but thanks for being on here, bro.
Really dude, absolutely. I could keep talking about this, but
keep talking for a long time. Definitely get you on again for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll just talk about other stuff. But I really appreciate you coming on and talking about some,
absolutely,
you know, your personal life, but also some of this stuff as well.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I got one last thing though.
Talk to me.
The Astros are cheaters, but that's another time. That's another conversation for another day. We got to end on a light mood.
I'm an Astros fan. What are you? You're a Giants fan?
No, New York Yankees.
Oh, here we go. I forgot about that. You're a Yankees fan. But you work for the Giants, so I don't get it. For the San Francisco Giants. Yeah, look, the Astros might have gotten caught cheating. But even if they weren't cheating, they still would have won. So I don't see what the big issue is. Shout out to Jose Altuve for being Aaron Judge. Shout out to Correa for just being a boss. And shout out to Aaron Judge for losing. Peace. Have a great night. Have a great day, guys.
Have a great night.
Weekend. This is my show and I like to talk. Loving the sound of my voice, so grab a cup of Joe and I'll let you know. Hope you enjoyed the show.